From that night I kissed her the goodbye. Don't blame it on the sunshine. Don't blame it on the moonlight. Don't blame it on the good times. Blame it on the
Aryna Sabalenka has finally run into the kind of moment tennis insiders love to describe with raised eyebrows, lowered voices, and just enough drama to keep group chats alive for a week. Her quarterfinal loss to Hailey Baptiste at the Madrid Open should have been the only story anyone was talking about. A top star goes down, a challenger breaks through, brackets everywhere explode. Classic tennis chaos. But somehow, incredibly, that result ended up becoming only the second biggest story of the day. And in tennis, where every stare, every handshake, and every towel slam gets replayed 15 times, that is saying something. Because moments after Sabalenka's defeat, cameras caught Eala and Victoria Mboko dancing in the background, smiling, laughing, clearly enjoying the energy of the moment. It was quick, spontaneous, and instantly viral. One clip, a few seconds long, and suddenly the tennis world was split into camps faster than a grass court rally.
A joke, honestly, like someone from a booth was just like staying there laughing and you know, like, oh, let's see if you...
Some saw it as harmless fun. Others called it disrespectful. And somewhere in the middle, fans began connecting dots, revisiting old moments, and asking a much bigger question. Why did this reaction feel less like random celebration and more like release? That is where this story gets interesting. Because for many people around the sport, this was never really about Madrid alone. This was not just about one upset, one dance, or one locker room moment caught by a camera operator who probably deserves a raise. No, to understand why that clip hit so hard, you have to rewind. You have to go back through years of tense press conferences, pointed comments, icy reactions, and those little moments that players remember even when fans forget. Tennis may look elegant from the stands, but behind the scenes, memories have a longer shelf life than some sponsorship deals. Now, to be clear, nobody questions Sabalenka's talent. Not seriously, anyway. You do not climb to the top of women's tennis by accident. You do not overpower the field, dominate big stages, and make world-class defenders look like they accidentally brought the wrong racket unless you are truly elite. Sabalenka's game is thunder. Her serve can sound like it owes someone money. Her forehand looks like it has personal issues with tennis balls. Her intensity, her presence, her confidence, those are all championship traits. That part of her legacy is beyond debate. But with greatness comes scrutiny, and over time, Sabalenka has also developed a second reputation, one that has nothing to do with rankings, trophies, or highlight reels. Around the tour, many began to notice a pattern. Losing did not always seem to bring reflection. Sometimes it brought frustration, sometimes it brought dismissiveness, and sometimes it brought comments that fairly or unfairly became bigger stories than the matches themselves. In a sport built on respect, even a single reaction can travel faster than a 120-mile-per-hour serve. One of the moments fans still bring up involves Madison Keys. When Keys produced one of the best performances of her career and defeated Sabalenka on a major stage, many expected the usual script. Credit your opponent, acknowledge the fight, move forward. Instead, the post-match reaction left some observers uncomfortable. Rather than focusing entirely on what Keys did brilliantly, much of the conversation seemed to circle back towards Sabalenka's own performance. And to fans watching, that mattered. Because when someone fights through pressure, swings freely under lights, and earns the biggest win of her life, people expect that effort to be recognized. And then came Coco Gauff. Young, fearless, composed under pressure, and already carrying the weight of global expectations. When Gauff scored one of the defining wins of her career on clay, it felt like one of those changing of the guard moments tennis lives for. The crowd knew it. The commentators knew it. Social media definitely knew it. Social media always knows, even when it absolutely does not. But once again, the post-match narrative became complicated. Instead of a clean celebration of Gauff's execution, many fans felt the focus drifted toward Sabalenka's mistakes rather than her opponent's brilliance. That is the kind of thing players notice. Maybe they do not say it publicly. Maybe they smile in interviews, answer politely, and move on. But locker rooms have memories, coaches remember. Training partners remember. Players who spend months grinding through qualifying draws, recovering from injuries, switching surfaces, changing time zones, and surviving the emotional roller coaster of tour life. They definitely remember. And when someone repeatedly appears unable to fully credit another player's success, eventually people start paying attention. Not loudly at first, but consistently. Then there was the moment involving Aryna Sabalenka during the WTA Finals, a moment that sparked heavy debate among fans online and fueled even more discussion about Sabalenka's behavior. Clips circulated. Body language was analyzed frame by frame like tennis fans had suddenly become detectives with Wi-Fi. Comment sections exploded. Interpretations varied. Some defended her. Others criticized her sharply. But regardless of where people stood, one thing became obvious. The spotlight had shifted from tennis to personality, and once that happens, every gesture gets magnified. So when cameras later caught Eala and Victoria Mboko dancing after Sabalenka's Madrid exit, it did not feel like a random celebration to a lot of people. It felt symbolic. It felt like younger players enjoying a moment that represented more than just a scoreline. Maybe it was harmless fun. Maybe it was inside humor. Maybe it was nothing deeper than adrenaline, friendship, and being young on tour. But in professional tennis, context is everything, and context is rarely quiet. And now, as the reactions keep pouring in, the tennis world is watching closely. Not just to see how Sabalenka responds on court, but how she responds off it. Because champions are not only measured by what they do when they win, they are measured by what they say when they lose, how they treat rivals, and whether they can handle the uncomfortable truth that one day, the spotlight turns. And the crowd starts watching you for very different reasons. No respect. If there is one phrase that keeps surfacing whenever Aryna Sabalenka finds herself on the losing end of a big match, that is the one people keep coming back to. Different tournaments, different opponents, different surfaces, but somehow the reactions always seem to follow a familiar script. Madison Keys, Coco Gauff, Aryna Sabalenka. One by one, players stepped onto the court, earned their victories, handled the pressure, and walked away with wins that no one could argue with. Yet again and again, the aftermath became less about their brilliance and more about Sabalenka's reaction. And that is where things start to get even more interesting. Because now the conversation moves toward Eala, and suddenly this story takes on a whole new layer. Calling it a rivalry might be a little premature. One player is already established at the very top of the sport. The other is still climbing, still learning, still writing the first real chapters of what could become a spectacular career. But tennis does not always wait for equal rankings before it creates tension. Sometimes all it takes is presence. Sometimes all it takes is attention. And sometimes all it takes is one player realizing the spotlight is no longer hers alone. Sabalenka, by many accounts, has never looked entirely comfortable with the buzz surrounding Eala. And honestly, you can understand why people notice it. Eala brings something to the sport that is difficult to teach and impossible to fake. She has the game, yes. She has the movement, the instincts, the timing, absolutely. But beyond that, she has something even more dangerous in modern sports. She connects with people. Fans do not just support her. They rally behind her like she is the main character in a tennis documentary. Nobody wants to pause. Her fan base is passionate, vocal, and growing with every tournament. From Asia to Europe to North America, people are starting to pay attention. And not the polite kind of attention either. We are talking about the kind where every practice clip gets replayed, every interview gets dissected, and every walk through the player's tunnel somehow turns into social media content before she has even picked up a racket. That kind of energy can change careers. And yes, it can absolutely make other players notice. One moment that really fueled that conversation came at the Laureus World Sports Awards. Officially, it was Sabalenka's night. She was the winner. She had the recognition. She had the title. She had every reason to own that stage. But somewhere between the cameras, the flashes, the interviews, and the red carpet buzz, something unexpected happened. Eala walked in, and suddenly heads started turning. The photographers noticed. The reporters noticed. Fans online definitely noticed, because fans online notice everything, including things nobody involved noticed at the time. The energy in the room shifted. There was curiosity. There was excitement. There was that unmistakable feeling when a young athlete walks into a room and people quietly realize they might be looking at the future. And by multiple accounts, Sabalenka did not appear thrilled about sharing that attention. Now, whether that frustration was visible, subtle, or simply interpreted by fans is always up for debate. Tennis audiences love a dramatic zoom-in and an overanalyzed facial expression. But what people kept talking about was the same thing. Sabalenka seemed uncomfortable whenever Eala became the center of attention. And if that is true, it tells you something, because Eala did not need to win a slam to get noticed. She did not need a world number beside her name. She just showed up, stayed authentic, and somehow made the room lean in. That can be intimidating, especially for players used to being the headline. And what makes Eala even more intriguing is that she is not just popular, she is improving. Fast. Match by match, tournament by tournament, she looks sharper, stronger, more confident. Her court awareness is maturing. Her decision-making under pressure is evolving. And perhaps most importantly, she is starting to believe she belongs at this level. That is the part veterans notice immediately. Coaches see it. Former champions see it. Fans feel it before statistics can even confirm it. That quiet shift when potential starts turning into real threat, it is one of the most exciting things in tennis. And whether Sabalenka admits it publicly or not, players at the top always notice when someone young starts knocking on the door. So when Eala and Victoria Mboko were seen dancing after Hailey Baptiste sent Sabalenka out of the Madrid Open, it did not feel like a random viral clip to a lot of fans. It felt bigger than that. It felt symbolic. Two young players, both rising, both fearless, both clearly enjoying the moment without apology. And maybe that is what hit hardest. Because whether it was intentional or not, the message felt loud and clear. This next generation is not arriving quietly. They are not tiptoeing into locker rooms. They are not shrinking themselves to protect someone else's image. They are showing up with talent, confidence, personality, and apparently rhythm too. And if that dance stung, maybe it was never really about the dancing at all. And here is the part that makes tennis fans raise their eyebrows. This is not even the first time celebration on camera seemed to hit a nerve. Think back to the moment when Coco Gauff shared a joyful celebration with Serena Williams after one of the biggest wins of her career at the US Open. The stadium screens lit up, the crowd roared. Two generations of champions, sharing a moment, smiling, dancing, soaking it all in like tennis history was writing itself in real time. And on the other side of that moment, cameras once again found Sabalenka. The expression, the body language, the frustration. Fans talked about it for weeks, because in professional tennis, losing hurts. Losing publicly hurts even more. But losing, while someone else celebrates with music, joy, and the entire stadium watching, that may be the hardest part for Aryna Sabalenka to process right now, watching other players celebrate while knowing the spotlight is no longer centered on her. Because if there is one thing tennis fans have noticed over the years, it is this. Sabalenka has never seemed completely comfortable when joy belongs to someone else. Winning? That part comes naturally. Dominating? Absolutely. Owning the stage with power, intensity, and that unmistakable presence? No question. But watching another player enjoy a breakthrough moment, especially when it happens after one of her defeats, that appears to hit differently. And that is exactly why the viral moment involving Eala and Victoria Mboko landed with so much force. It was not just a dance. It was not just two friends smiling after a dramatic result. It was not just another social media clip destined to disappear after 24 hours and 3,000 opinion posts. It felt like something bigger. It felt like a generational shift playing out in real time. Because while all that noise was unfolding, Eala had already moved on. To Italy, to business, to the next challenge, to the next chapter. She arrived at the Italian Open and almost immediately something became impossible to ignore. The reception was incredible. Fans were waiting. Cameras were following. Young players were watching her practice sessions like they were sneaking into a masterclass. Some lined up for autographs. Others just wanted a photo, a wave, a moment, any little memory they could hold on to and tell their friends about later. And honestly, it felt less like a newcomer quietly entering a tournament, and more like the arrival of someone people already believe belongs on the biggest stages. That kind of support cannot be faked. You cannot buy it. You cannot manufacture it with branding meetings, carefully scripted interviews, or a social media team posting motivational captions with dramatic music in the background. Fans connect to something real. And that is exactly what Eala brings every time she walks onto a court. There is a spark there, a freshness, a sense of possibility. The kind of energy that reminds people why they fell in love with tennis in the first place. She competes with emotion, but not chaos. She carries confidence, but not arrogance. She plays with creativity, intelligence, and just enough fearless shot-making to make crowds lean forward in their seats before the ball has even crossed the net. And that is rare. Some players win matches. Some players sell tickets. Some players trend online. Very few players do all three while still being early in their journey. Eala is starting to look like one of those rare athletes who can do exactly that. The kind who makes neutral fans pick a side. The kind who turns early round matches into must-watch sessions. The kind who makes people check schedules and say, wait, when is she playing again? That is star power. And what makes her rise even more interesting is the respect she is earning from players already established at the top of the game. One of those voices has been Coco Gauff. Coco, someone who knows exactly what it feels like to carry enormous expectations at a young age, has publicly shown support for Eala's progress. That matters, because in professional tennis, compliments from peers are not handed out like tournament towels. Players notice everything: practice intensity, recovery habits, body language during pressure moments, how someone handles losses, how they carry themselves when the cameras are gone. When someone like Gauff shows support, that usually means there is genuine respect behind it. And that brings us back to the contrast fans keep talking about. On one side, you have Sabalenka, a champion, a proven force, a player whose achievements speak for themselves but whose reactions have often sparked just as much conversation as her victories. On the other side, you have Eala, young, hungry, still developing, but already building something just as powerful in a completely different way. Not through intimidation, not through volume, not through making herself the biggest voice in the room, but through connection, through authenticity, through humility, through showing up, working, improving, smiling, and letting people feel like they are witnessing the beginning of something special. That difference matters more than rankings sometimes. Because tennis has a funny way of humbling everyone. The number beside your name changes. The trophies gather dust. The headlines move on. The crowds cheer for the next story. The game always keeps moving, whether you are ready for it or not. No world number one stays there forever. No winning streak lasts forever. No title can permanently shield a player from criticism, scrutiny, or the consequences of how they treat people around them. That is the truth of elite sport, and every champion eventually learns it, some gracefully, some with a little more noise. So when Eala and Victoria Mboko danced after Sabalenka's defeat, a lot of fans did not see disrespect. They saw confidence, they saw youth. They saw two players refusing to make themselves smaller just because someone else might not like the celebration. And if social media reactions were any indication, they were definitely not dancing alone. Across timelines, comment sections, tennis forums, fan pages, and group chats that probably should have gone to sleep hours earlier, people were reacting, laughing, debating, replaying the clip, and choosing sides like it was match point in a 5-set thriller. Because in the end, tennis is not just about forehands, rankings, or trophies. It is about personality. It is about pressure. It is about what happens when the cameras catch moments nobody planned. And those moments tell a bigger story than the match itself. So now the question moves to the fans. Were Eala and Victoria Mboko simply enjoying a moment like any young athletes would? So what do you think? Did Eala and Victoria Mboko handle that moment exactly the way young, confident players should? Or do you think they crossed a line and should have played it a little cooler? That is the question everyone in tennis seems to be asking right now. And honestly, there are strong arguments on both sides. Because let us be real, emotion is part of this sport. Tennis is not chess with sweatbands. It is pressure, adrenaline, rivalries, heartbreak, momentum swings, and the occasional facial expression that gets analyzed harder than a second serve on breakpoint. When emotions spill out, people notice. When cameras catch it, people debate it. And when the clip involves Aryna Sabalenka, oh, trust me, the internet is definitely not staying quiet. So has Sabalenka finally run into the same kind of energy that many fans believe she has been giving out for years? Has the script flipped? Has the emotional intensity, the swagger, the edge, the attitude that once made her so intimidating finally come back around in a way she did not expect? Or is all of this being blown way out of proportion? That is where it gets fascinating. Because depending on who you ask, Sabalenka is either getting a long overdue reality check, or she is becoming the latest example of a top athlete being judged harder simply because cameras catch every imperfect moment. And if we are being honest, tennis fans love drama almost as much as they love tiebreaks. Actually, maybe more. A 5-minute handshake can create more online arguments than a 3-hour final sometimes. And then there is Eala. This might be the biggest question of all. Are we watching the early stages of something truly special? Are we watching the rise of a player who could one day dominate women's tennis, not just with her shot-making, movement, and tactical growth, but with her presence, her charisma, and her ability to connect with fans in a way that feels completely natural? Because that part is becoming impossible to ignore. Every tournament, every interview, every appearance, Eala seems to be building something bigger than just results. She is building belief. She is building momentum. She is building the kind of following that makes people check draws before the tournament even starts. And if her development continues at this pace, who knows where this story could go? Could she eventually challenge Sabalenka on the biggest courts in the world? Could she push her in Grand Slams, on center courts, under lights with everything on the line? Could she become not just a threat on the scoreboard, but a player whose popularity, presence, and star power completely shifts the balance of attention in women's tennis? That is a huge statement. But right now, it does not feel impossible at all, so now it is your turn. Drop your thoughts in the comments and tell us exactly where you stand. Are you fully behind Alex Eala and the fearless new generation? Do you think Sabalenka deserves more understanding than she is getting right now? Or do you believe this entire situation says something much bigger about respect, rivalry, and how players treat each other when the pressure is at its highest? And if you have been following this story from the beginning, tell us this. What was the real turning point? Was it the viral dance? Was it the old press conference moments? Was it the reactions after the big losses? Or was there another moment that made you realize this story had become bigger than tennis? Sound off below, because one thing is absolutely certain. This is not a conversation tennis fans are done having anytime soon. And if history tells us anything, this story may only be getting started.